What's up everyone, I'm the Fizz and this is a Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft Deck Builder's Guide to a Shaman Rush deck. So, what cards do I have in this deck? First off, start out with an Ancestral Healing and a Wisp. These are both free cards to have. They don't cost any mana to use. One restores your minion to full health and gives it taunt, which is useful for later on in the game when you might be facing an opponent that has several minions on the board. And then a Wisp with a 1/1 ability. Next up is two Goldshire Footmans, both come with taunt, and a 1/2. This is great for the beginning of the game to get taunt cards out on the battlefield. Next, two Grimscale Oracles. We will be playing a lot of Murlocs in this deck, so it's great to have a card that gives all Murlocs a +1 attack. Be careful though, because it does give your opponent's Murlocs +1 attack as well, so just make sure you know when to use it. Next up, we have two Murloc Raiders. Both have 2 attack and 1 health. They're easy to send out. I love them because they're fast, and as you can see, most of my cards in this deck are 1, 2, 3 mana. The top card that I have only costs 5 mana. Next up, I have one Murloc Tidecaller, and whenever a Murloc is summoned, this gains a +1 attack. So my recommendation is to hold onto this card until you're ready to send out your other Murlocs. That way you can take full advantage of the +1 attack ability that it has. Next up, two Stone Tusk Boars. Each come with charge. They can attack as soon as it's summoned. It doesn't suffer from summoning sickness, which is great. Next up, two Bluegill Warriors. They both come with charge as well. Next up, two Murloc Tidehunters. Whenever you summon this card, it also summons a 1/1 Murloc Scout. So, essentially, you have 2 minions with only 1 card, which can fill up your board with minions fairly quickly. Next up, two Novice Engineers. The ability is to draw a card, which lets you get more cards in your deck, and because this is a rush deck, you want to have as many cards as possible that you can just blast out in succession. Next up, you have a Feral Spirit that gives you 2/3 Spirit Wolves with taunt. This is great to get out, maybe to use with a Goldshire Footman, so you can get you can get 3 taunts out very quickly. But do be careful, because this does have an overload of 2 mana, which means it will take up and not let you use 2 of your mana on the next turn. Okay, next up is a Hex. It costs 3 mana and it transforms any minion into a 0/1 frog with taunt. This is great for, say, going against a priest who may be buffing one of his minions to, some crazy health number. You can just reduce that back down to 0/1 frog with taunt and then just take it out very easily. Next up, Cold Light Oracle. This card it's a Murloc with a 2/2, but lets each player draw 2 cards. This is great if you aren't getting the cards that you want and you want to get more cards in your hand. It's not so great whenever you're playing against, say, a mage who might be looking for that spell to wipe away all of your minions all at once. So be careful when you use this card. Next up, a Cold Light Seer. This gives all other Murlocs a +2 health. It's basically like a Murloc a Grimscale Oracle. It's basically like that, except it puts its buff to the health, and it also gives all other Murlocs +2 health. So again, be careful if your opponent is also playing Murlocs. Next up is a Harvest Golem. I like this card because whenever it dies, you basically get another golem back in its place. So you can be confident in taking out that, that the potential minion that might be giving you a hard time. You can take out that minion and then just get a replacement right away, which keeps your board full. And with this deck, that is one of your main goals, is to keep the board full of minions. Next up, you have 2 raid leaders. This gives all other minions a +1 attack, so that's great if you have a full board and you say you have 6 minions. You can send out raid leader as your 7th and give all other 6 minions +1 attack. That can be very useful. Next up is Razorfin Hunter. I have 2 of those in my deck, and it also summons a 1/1/4. So again, just like the Murloc Tidehunter, it summons another creature. So it's basically 2 creatures for only 1 card cost, which is great. Same thing with Dragonlane Mechanic. It summons a 2/1 mechanical Dragonlane, which lets you... The whole point of this deck is to keep minions on the board at all times in preparation for the best card in the game, in my opinion, Bloodlust. Bloodlust gives all of your minions a +3 attack for 1 turn. So, the way this deck is built, by the 5th turn, potentially, you could be looking at a victory by turn number 5 with this card, if you get lucky enough and if you're pro enough, I should say, to have all your minions out. By the 5th turn, you could potentially win the game. So, that is a look at my Shaman Rush deck. Please, when you're using this deck, try not to go up against mages, because the mage decks are very strong against this deck. Basically, any deck that has a spell in there that deals 4 damage to all creatures is going to be bad for you. So try not to go up against those people, but when you do, be confident to know that you may just take them by surprise with the amount of firepower you're able to get out on the board all at once. Again, I am the Fizz, and this has been a Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft deck builder's guide to the Shaman Rush deck. I will see you next time.